Welcome back to the program. I'm joined by Ray Hanleys, the CEO of the Arkansas Foundation for Medical Care. Ray, let's talk about where we are with mental health in Arkansas. I've seen some national and international statistics that show that there are some troubling things in terms of mental health, but where are we in the state of Arkansas?
Well, we have a real challenge, Roby. If you look at the stats, something like 37% of Arkansans report depression versus 31% nationally. About 5% are thought to have serious mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar, major depression. And this is compounded by the lack of ability to get treatment. Nationally, something like 80% of the psychiatrists and psychologists only work in urban areas, and that's certainly true in Arkansas. If you need mental illness treatment in rural Arkansas, whether you're an adult or a child, it is hard to come by. Obviously, rural Americans have to travel further for everything, groceries, schools, and certainly healthcare. And we have a serious shortage of mental health providers in this state, particularly outside of Little Rock and Northwest Arkansas.
The pandemic presented some new challenges for mental health as well, additional isolation, separation from normal routines, some things that can compound mental health issues. Did we see some things take an uptick during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, and when kids are homebound, separated from their friends and their routine, the stress on families, on caregivers, parents that need to work but have kids that can't be in school. This has stressed everybody and only added to the challenge.
The pandemic presented some opportunities too. We saw some loosening of regulations that allowed for more telemedicine, more
Yes.
Video conferencing, particularly for mental health consultations. That helps with this remote healthcare problem that you're talking about, doesn't it?
It does, because Arkansas is one of the states that has a telehealth parity law on the books. It says insurance companies have to recognize telehealth just as they do in-person care. But at the same time, we've got challenges in rural areas. Broadband is not where it needs to be yet. And then we have too many people that won't get treatment, particularly in rural areas. There's a stigma attached to mental health. And and if you've ever lived in a small town, I mean, everybody knows everybody and everybody knows your business. And, nobody wants to be seen going into the local mental health clinic, if there is one sometimes.
What do you see on the horizon for potential changes to the state's approach to mental health? What's in the conversation right now? What might we see policy-wise the next chance they get?
Much of it is about the workforce. If you go back to President Biden's State of the Union speech a couple of weeks ago, he talked about the need to increase mental health workforce. Said a third of Americans lack access to mental health care. I suspect in Arkansas, it's closer to 50%. He said fewer than half of Americans with mental health issues receive treatment. It's that much or more in Arkansas. We've got UAMS here in the Department of Psychiatry that has to play a large role. You've got two medical schools, new medical schools, Fort Smith, Jonesboro. You've got a new medical school coming online in Northwest Arkansas. These facilities have got to step up along with lawmakers to try to generate more of a workforce, and there has to be a way to incent some of these to work in rural areas, and they all can't just live in Little Rock and Fayetteville and Jonesboro.
Let me think how to ask this question. What's a price tag for that? Has anybody kind of put some sort of dollar figure to what it would take to advance the state's capabilities in terms of mental health?
No, I haven't seen any budget. I think Medicaid's been the dominant payer of mental health for many years. The mental health parity laws that are on the books are supposed to have helped that. But 65% of the people in Arkansas get what mental health care they get from a primary care physician. And these family doctors, they weren't trained to be psychiatrists or psychologists. They're not the best equipped to do the referrals to the insurance companies to document the need for mental health care. And I think third-party payers have got to step up and put a dent in this budget. But what it's going to cost, what's it going to cost if we don't do it? I mean, I think that's perhaps the larger answer to this. The tragedy, if we don't find a way to address the shortage of mental health providers and the treatment that people need to function and earn a living, probably is going to cost more than if we find a way to address this.
Last question for you on this topic. We're talking obviously about Arkansas specifically. Do you look at other states that are doing a superior job to handling their mental health issues? Is there any state in the union that is doing an excellent job in this regard?
I don't think anybody's doing an excellent job. I think nationally the statistics are bad. They just happen to be worse in southern rural states. I'm not aware of anybody that's doing an exemplary job. Certainly, smaller states in New England probably have done more, but they have an easier situation to manage. But if you look at the history of mental health in Arkansas, we've come a long ways. If you go back to the 1880s, the mental health was the Arkansas Insane Asylum. That's what it was called for 40 years. And then it became the Institute for Nervous Diseases. If you go back to World War II, the state hospital down in Benton was probably the largest community in Saline County. Homer Atkins, the governor of Arkansas, went down to tour during the war and was walking on the grounds, and he met a patient and he said, "Hi, I'm Homer Atkins. I'm the governor of Arkansas." The patient put his arm around the governor and said, "That's okay, buddy. When I got here, I thought I was Winston Churchill." So, with modern medicine, we've come a long, long way, but we have so far to go in this state. And so much of it is about trying to build a better workforce and overcome the stigma so that people will get treatment if we can make the workforce available.
He is Ray Hanley. He's the CEO of the Arkansas Foundation for Medical Care. Always appreciate your expertise, sir.
Thank you.
That's all for today's edition of Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock. Thanks for tuning in.